Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. We're watching Vinland Saga, and this is episode 22, Emperor of Rebellion. I'm ready to jump straight into this episode, so let's get into it. Ooh, straight into the punch. Okay, Drot. Ooh. You know, I did forget that Thorfinn has fought Thorkel, so he's fine. That was cool. He like literally moved his face. He fought Thorkel. Thorkel. He's like, what? What? I mean, you're still getting punched in the head. So, you know. Well, now Einar's like, he's walking the walk, and he talks the talk, he walks the walk. This is this it? It's like, I don't want to get punched. So kind of scary, isn't it? Hebby is my comfort. Every time I see him, I just feel happy and. Oh! Oh, there. Uh-oh. That's not good. Oh, right. That's true. Just like you, though. Hebby, you're doing stuff for the farm, too. This guy is gonna be like rethinking his whole life after this. Dang. Middle parted jerk. Oh wow. Yay, the Thorfinn scream is back. Man, he's shocked. That's what he wants to do, though. I love it. It's like his disciples. I keep relating things back to Jesus and the Bible, but it's very... Everyone's quiet now. They're like... Wow. Wow. He dropped Drot without even laying a finger on him. Wow. His whole face is swollen. Phew. Intense. Very intense. You have no enemies. Wow. Aww. I thought he made it out of there. Did he not? The scar you gave him. Wow. How times have changed. People can change. Hmm.
久しいな、ドルフ、ハットのことをさぞ恨んでいような。お顔の傷、申し訳ありませんでした。顔に傷をつけた男、五分の戦いをしたという男。ここまで若いとは。
You got that. いや。クヌート、農場から手を引いてくれ。生まれが重視になれぬのを恨み、我が輩10名を殺害して見誤ったケテルに罪がある。一族の処分が済むまで。Seems like he's so stubborn right now. それはつまり、お嬢を手に入れるまでってことだろ。建前並べたって隠せねえぞ。王様なんて言っても実際の王じゃねえか。その辺のバイキングの親玉と何が違うってんだ。ああ、そんなに畑が欲しければ It's a lot of work. Yeah. 土を耕して見守ってそうだ、どれだけ悪いことか身に染みてわかるだろう。And that's why they fought you. 100 people died for their farm. この地上に楽土を作る。生き苦しむ者たちのための理想郷をまだそう思っているか。親玉か。よこそは帝王。北海最強のバイキングである。世の人知を超え、不可能を可能にする。力であの波を沈めてみせよう。帝王クヌートの名において波を沈まれ。寄せるさざ波さえ止めることができない。あの波を起こしている者が誰か知っているか。この地上に楽土を築くということは、奴の定めた条理に逆らうということ。我らバイキングを、この混乱と破壊の担い手を、恐怖の略奪者を盗む資格があると思うか。バイキングを救う。そう、生死、行死、その力を束ね楽土へ向かわせることができる者は世を置いて他にはおらん。おい男だ、クヌート。俺には思いつきもしなかった。バイキングを救うなんて。でやろうが、てめえの勝手だ。だがそのために今日てめえに殺される人間は誰が救うんだ。エセルレッド王に村を焼かれ、スベン王に家族を殺された。されようとは思わぬ。だとこのよせ、エイナ。手を引く気はないんだな。ない。ケテルの富は世の事業に殺すか。殺さぬ限り世を止めることはできぬぞ。Well, that was a powerful episode. And I mean, another one. What can you do? Genuinely, like, what conclusion can they come to at this point? It just seems like there's I don't know. Truthfully, I don't know what they can do. It's very brave of Thorfinn and Einar to come up and talk to the king and what Thorfinn just went through. He believes strongly in what he believes in, and that's beautiful. but Canute also believes strongly in what Canute believes in. They're both fighting for kind of the same thing, but also different. In the last season, that really struck me, that whole, like, from, I think it was from episode, I don't know, 15 and on, there was just many moments where there, with the priest and with Canute, and how Canute was and he was a strong, staunch Christian. And then the priest started to, like, doubt some stuff, and he was, like, kind of, dealing with his alcoholism and all of that. And I remember at the time, I was still, I guess I would classify myself as a Christian. I really do not like labels. Like, I talk about really loving the story of Jesus and following that. And I guess that would make me a Christian, but I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm anything other than I do have faith, but I wrestle with a lot of the dogmatic parts of what I was taught. I don't like a lot of it, but I also know that in the Bible there are really, really important stories for all of us to use to get through life, because life is really hard and we need different tools. And you don't have to read the Bible to get through life. In my opinion, growing up reading the Bible and then kind of going away from that and finding my own path, but then returning to the Bible and kind of going through some hardships of my own, and then being like, oh yeah, Daniel or David, Joseph, and I mean Joseph, the technicolored coat, Joseph, Moses, they all went through, like, extreme hardships, all of them, and yet they prevailed. And then, like, David, who defeated Goliath, he had a really beautiful run, and then all of a sudden he starts doing all this crazy stuff, sends some guy to the war to die so he can take his wife, and you're like, what the hell? But it just shows, like, human nature. Everyone was human in the Bible, and it's more of, like, when you see it outside of the dogmatic, frustrating, pulpit preaching type situation that a lot of us who left the church and were frustrated with the church, when you get out of that, but you go back into the Bible on your own, you'll find some really good stuff there. At the time when I was watching the first, I guess I would consider myself a Christian at the time, but I was still kind of moving away from that. But I was still, like, stuck in my belief. Conversations really shook me to my core, and I couldn't see outside of my limitations. I had put limitations on myself, which is what we all do. It's hard because, especially in the church, in the church, you're really conditioned to think one way, and I don't have enough time to get into all of that, but I could not see outside of my limitations. But I understood when Canute started cursing God and was angry at God, because all he saw was, he's like, basically, like, there's no point to any of this. So you mean that we just are born and then we die, and then these Vikings who have no idea about love or truth and they literally had no idea what love meant. The priest had that, I don't remember what episode it was, but the priest talked about, does anybody know what love is? And that was the whole episode. They were trying to figure out what love was. And the brothers, the Viking brothers, kept saying, like, yeah, well, we love each other. And he's like, well, what if I was on the field, the battlefield, would you save me? They're like, no, you're not my brother. And so he's like, well, then that's not true love. And they were like, what? Is it gold? Is it women? What is love? They just didn't know. The priest started to have doubts in God, and then Canute did. Finally, Canute was like, I'm going to create a paradise on earth. These poor Vikings have no chance, and it's not fair. This just seems so unfair. So, to be very honest, at the time when I first watched it, it made me uncomfortable, because I felt like at that time there was, like, the limitations of my beliefs where you can't talk badly against God, which is something you saw Canute do too when he heard his priest question God. It was they were praying at the cross, and he was like, "Are you even real? What's going on?" And Canute yelled at him to never ever talk against God. But then Canute had to see the realities for himself, which was all these people dying for nothing, literally no reason. People are just dying and being killed, and it made no sense. So his plan is to create a heaven for these people, for the Vikings, for his people. But it's just interesting because at the end of the day, there's still people who have faith in this story. Like Thorfinn has regained his. He heard Hebby reading the Bible to Spherical, and he was like, I actually really relate to what I'm hearing. I like this. So it's interesting to see this. Like, I think that's the whole point of like our lives. So we're gonna either be, it's one day you're in the church, one day you're completely gone from it. You're an atheist. You're learning your own stuff. Maybe you come back, not to the church, but through you find your own spiritual walk, whatever it is, or you're just an atheist and that's that. And like, whatever the case, it doesn't matter, truthfully. It's just, life is an interesting thing, and it's very long, and you do change. A lot of things change throughout time. Thorfinn can't do it on his own. He needs Olmar, he needs Hebby, he needs Kettle. He needs to figure out something with Canute, and it's kind of like how. There's 2 episodes left after this, so it's like, well, how does this end? Of course, I think idealistically we would love for war to stop and for the battles to stop. But I mean, Thorfinn and Einar are very brave. Just really, truly brave. And it's the only thing I can say is I'm just really proud of both of them. I'm very proud of Thorfinn. My heart is so happy because Thor's, all the way in season 1, the beginning of season 1 was just, he told Thorfinn, he's like, Thorfinn had reached for that blade and was playing with it, and he said, well, who are you going to use the blade on? Because a blade is to kill people. And he's like, well, my enemies. And he was just like, who are your enemies? And then that was when Thorfinn's like, just as a child's mind is just like, oh, like the people who, I forget the slave master's name, but the slave master. And he said, you have no enemies. No one has any enemies. And Thorfinn did not like that. Again, he hardened his heart against what his dad said. He hardened his heart for years after that, like years. I mean, it's just recently that he changed. But it finally clicked. It finally clicked in his head, and I love to see that. It's so beautiful. And yeah, 4 years is enough time for someone to change. We'll see what happens in the last 2 episodes. Really have no idea how it goes down. But I'm hoping that Olmar, Hebby, Einar, and Thorfinn just kind of come together and figure something out. Maybe Kettle and Canute will play a game of whatever the heck that was called. But yeah, maybe they'll play a game. That would be funny. Okay, guys, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, everyone.